Thistlefoot. Alright, let's talk about this book. So, I got Thistlefoot from Book of the Month. It is not sponsored. I've had a subscription for a while, and I like it. I got it a few months ago, and so when I went to pick it up, for some reason I was thinking it was YA. This is not a YA book. What this book is about is the descendants of Baba Yaga. So if you don't know who Baba Yaga is, I didn't know before, well, I had heard of her prior to this, but not in any depth. Baba Yaga is a character from Slavic folklore. She's different in each thing that you read. So sometimes she's a witch, sometimes she's an ogre, sometimes she lives with her 3 sisters, sometimes she lives with daughters. Depending on the story, there's a different world around Baba Yaga. But in each of them, she lives in this house that has chicken legs. And so this is the story of her great-great-grandchildren who she has left this house to. And their names are Isaac and Bellatine. And the 2 of them inherit Thistlefoot, which is this house. So there's this evil, nefarious character called the Long Shadow Man, who is chasing Thistlefoot. When they first get him, Bellatine feels very connected to Thistlefoot. She loves this house. And so when they find out that the Long Shadow Man is chasing them, they go on the run. And so this is their story. While they're on the run, you meet a bunch of other characters, and a lot happens. And that's the story. It's a story of a journey told through this folklore, fantasy, magical realism story. And I absolutely loved it. I loved it. I thought that the writing style was just wonderful. There's a few things I really love about the writing in this book. One is, I don't really know how to explain it, but she uses very creative language when she describes things. That's the best way I can think of to say it. And I think in any other book I would be irritated by that, but here, because it is fantasy-esque, I feel like that language, that poetic language, works well in this book, and I really enjoyed that part. I also enjoyed how well she developed each of the characters, because there are quite a few characters in it. Not a ton, you're not going to get confused. But she develops, sorry, my dogs are running around. She develops each of the characters so well that you not only can imagine who they are, but you can imagine why they're making the choices that they're making. And you're okay with the choices they make. For example, the character Isaac, he's a definitely flawed character. You don't love this guy at first, and you don't necessarily love him at the end, but you understand him. You get him throughout the book. The way I typically read, just in general, is I usually have one book that I read at night, and then one book that I have on audiobook that I, listen to during the day when I'm doing stuff. They've never until this point been the same book. I started reading this at night in bed and became so excited about the story and what was going to happen that I did the thing where during the day I listened to it, an audiobook, found where I was, and then kept reading at night. I loved it. I felt like this book was so engaging, and you wanted to know what was happening, because while they are on the journey running from the Long Shadow Man, they're discovering where Thistlefoot came from. And in this discovery, they're discovering obviously where they came from, because that wasn't really talked about in their family. And in discovering where they came from, they're getting an understanding of who they are that they didn't have at the beginning of the book. It's not necessarily that they change. They're the same person at the end that they were at the beginning. They're just, there's there's this arc of understanding of why they are who they are. The book is about memory, collective memory. How does not just our memory, but our history affect who we are today? Even if you don't know what your history was, can it still affect who you are? And then also, like, what power does our history hold over us? Like, I feel like there's so much that you can unpack from this book. I feel like each person who reads it could get something different from it. Those are the things that I understood, and maybe I'm reading just very literally into it. I don't know. I really enjoyed it. Would I recommend Thistlefoot? Yes, I would recommend Thistlefoot. If you enjoy a deep dive into a story, if you enjoy a story that is based in folklore, there's some magical realism in it, there's mysticism in it. If you like that type of book, I think you would love Thistlefoot. I really like that kind of book, and I loved Thistlefoot. This was I think it might have been my first 5-star of the year. I'm not sure. I liked it so much. And so yes, I would recommend it. But if everything I said prior to this is something that you wouldn't enjoy, then I don't recommend it to you. But that's Thistlefoot. Thank you for watching. Like and subscribe. See you later. Chicken legs.